Okay. I've sort of, as you know, being a free spirit, um, I naturally serve the divine will of the first free spirit, the eternal spirit of fire, of pure, eternal, absolute love, the core still point of a true vacuum. So, because I learn at Godspeed, because the one I serve is the first seed, okay, so I serve God source, I serve source, and that means I serve all of you, which is all life, so that every life form is experiencing what I am, which is what love is. Keep it simple. First water, first rainbows. Um, and so I don't, when I speak about this, this is much like I'm immediately reminded going back to Alcoholics Anonymous, because I experienced a transmission last night that came into my email box by somebody that I send pure, eternal, absolute love all the time. When I became aware of who he is, I became aware of his awareness, because what he's aware of is what he's communicating that I become aware of. And now I'm translating that communication, what he feels, by virtue of what he communicates. Now I become aware of what he becomes aware of. And for me, because I'm thoroughly familiar with the Borg CubeIT quarantine victimizer experiment, it's easy for me to translate those codes when they're communicated to us. And that means their mind's energy is held captive because they're running those codes. They're running victimizer codes, machine codes, finite codes. So the mind's energy is held captive by those codes because they're communicating victimizer codes. And that is a speed translation. So there are certain characteristics, like a character map, like symbols on a keyboard, codes, radio frequency codes of electrical communication. I'm experiencing the communication in the victimizer software experiment, the spread of two other matrices, the Borg matrix, Andromeda Mother Galaxy quarantine. And the speed at which you translate that transmission, or mapping speed, mapping the translation of the codes that I see as holographic text, hypertext. So I read that last night. I read what that being, that self-aware being, that sacred life form, was communicating through their heart. The ABCs, their airway and breathing and circulation. So my heart, not like a heat sink, my heart sank. It's just I acknowledge the translation speed. And so I was reminded of why I would start doing some short little lessons, if you will, what I've learned through Alcoholics Anonymous, because that the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is a book of wisdom, mathematical wisdom, restoration, restoring our spiritual power, our inner heart, healing the inner child within ourselves, learning how to heal ourselves without the use of a cell phone, a laptop, or any of that, even though the cell phone, by virtue of communicating to others, now you become aware of what I become aware of. But what happens if you become aware of what I become aware of, and then you choose to do as a future sequence in you what I did in the past that you now experience as a future sequence that you experience, and then I find out later that you did what I did by virtue of what I've learned that I share with you, and you achieved or experienced a different result. Okay? It's much like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink first waters. That's why I never tell anybody what to do. And I don't play the game of what's true and false. What may be true for you may not be true for me, because I'm a creative artist. Playing musical spheres, musical rainbows. And so there was a word that stuck out that was in that coded language in that email that was sent to me by that being that I have subscription with, who his own channel has a plethora of a lot of the guardian materials that came out. Ekavekatones, he's a musician, right? But right, and so you see how the train, the translating the codes, and so one word came to my mind: expectations. Because the email that I read, when in the big book, has a chapter devoted about expectations and the director of the play, Shakespeare. About the inverse square root of 2 and the square root of 2 become 1. 2 becomes 1, 1 becomes all. And that's coded in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. 2 becomes 1, 1 becomes all. The brilliance of 3. Mama Feaster's logo. The brilliance of a triangle. 90 on the vertical, 90 on the horizontal. So in that chapter of the big book, expectations about collision courses. The word collision is in that paragraph in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. On a collision course, because we are on a collision course because we are disturbed, which is cavitation in the water molecules of implosion and going nova, when we place expectations on others to perform for us, just like the director of a play in a Spielberg movie. Some person, some place, or something is not acceptable to us. Accepting life on life's terms, a serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And the difference is the torque speed differential in fire and water, fire and ice, to experience no power. Because the waves are proportional to itself, to experience being equal, which is equal sharing across the entire spectrum. Now we're experiencing full spectrum sensing across the entire 15D DH12 cathode grid. And that's the core still point of a true vacuum, which is perfect balance. And only God Source knows how to do that. That's knowing one from the other. Yeah, Mama. So because of what I experienced last night, I'm going to grab one of my little my binders here and then pull up the 12-step and 12 traditions that I downloaded the other day, and or the big book. I got a copy of the big book in a PDF format, and go to that page that talks about Shakespeare, the director of the play, and disturbances in water, and placing expectations on others. Because that's what that email said. A few words that were said like, I don't give a flip anymore. You're not responding. And because you're not responding, because I've been through all this, and 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 we're trying to build a co-creative community. And so that word just came right on out. Expectations of others. And if there are expectations of others that we become dependent upon our own grace, right, then we're held captive by the others. They're not performing for us because we are placing the expectations on them to do for us what we can't do for ourselves. And that's the lesson in Alcoholics Anonymous when we work all 12 steps. And now we're back to love internal and service to others, to all life. That's recovery of our core, still point of a true vacuum. 12. Number 12. 12 spheres. Muaveaya. Zalukaleaya. So I'll do a short little lesson plan on that, on what I learned through the experience of what I was learning through the one, because the one is always with me. The eternal one, the sacred one, the first atom, the first atmosphere. Oh, the atmosphere, the first atmospheric communication platform, the eternal source field, the first electric field, the first life force field, first light, first rainbow, first water. Neurons love water. Living spirits love water, love colors, playing musical colors as one, breathing as one, breathing as one, healing as one, feeling as one, feeling the tones. Kundareaya, Muaveaya, Salukaleaya, to all of you. The Unisci, the first you, the first cycle of an atom, the first pressure wave, the first tones, the Kundalini tones. Two becomes one becomes all. The brilliance of a triangle, golden fire. That's why AA has the triangle in a circle of fire. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Simple is as simple does. Love is what love does. I know. Muaveaya to all of you.